at the Union Budget 2021 to 22 announcement, one of the biggest talking points from Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's speech was the official announcement of a vehicle scrappage policy in India. And today I'm here with Mr. Amar Singh and Ms. Shilpi Kapur to shed light on some of the hits and misses of the scrappage schemes. So, Mr. Amar, you have been working with Material Recycling Association of India, which has played an important role in the policy rollout. So, can you enlist two big hits and two changes that you would like to suggest to the policy?
The biggest hit itself is the announcement of the policy first. So,
True.
the national policy for ELV recycling is uh, one of the most important thing which industry and people were waiting for long. Uh, it will open a great and golden opportunity for Indian economy to reduce population of old and defective vehicles and will help create an ecosystem for phasing out of unfit and polluting vehicles, reducing vehicular air pollutants and fulfilling India's climate commitments. Beside, Besides, it will also help to improve road and vehicular safety and achieve better fuel efficiency. The second biggest hit is it will formalize the informal market, which is the need of the hour, which everyone in the government is looking at how come we can get this informal sector into formal sector, and uh, this will really help to uh, this will really help grow. There will be huge investment of around 10,000 crores. There will be more job opportunities. Around 35,000 people will be employed. There will be multiple initiatives in metals and plastic recycling, which will boost low-cost raw material for automotive, steel, and electronic industry.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Amar, for pointing those out for us. Dr. Shilpi, coming to you. You at TERI have been working on several schemes and you must have gone through the web. So, what is your feedback on the same?
Yeah, thanks, Susanna, for your question. I'm extremely happy to share my feedback. In fact, I would like to, on the side, thank ICSC for giving me this opportunity. So I feel this topic is really relevant, and the vehicle scrappage policy, particularly it's in discussion for the last 2 months and in even months before that, before it was announced. So I will touch upon few of the key implications of this policy and highlight some of the challenges that we may face. So I, in fact, think Mr. Sujit Samdar very rightly put it that the ELV recycling has societal, environmental, technological, and economic implications. So focusing on the scrappage policy, it certainly is a great policy initiative. Through its emphasis on organized scrapping setup processes, it will foster improved advancements in end-of-life management and also presents significant potential to push forward the transition to resource efficiency and circular economy in the auto sector. I mean, it would encourage reuse, recycling of auto parts and materials. It would lead to better environmental health, specifically by helping the government to move towards stringent emission norms and speed up the vehicle fleet modernization. In fact, the policy was kind of coincided with the worrying conclusions of the World Air Quality Report, which reported that 22 of the 30 most polluted cities in the world are in India, and transportation being among the major sources of air pollution. So the policy, as Mr. Amar has also pointed out, will enhance resource security. It will improve the availability of lot of secondary raw material, which can be used not just in the auto sector, but many other sectors in the economy, including some of the strategic sectors. Some of the aspects of the policy, like the fitness test, which also looks at the safety aspect, will also promote vehicular and road safety. In fact, India is not a unique country which has adopted this kind of a policy. Many countries across the world, United States, South Korea, Japan, Germany, have brought about temporary scrappage policies to improve not just air quality, boosting vehicle sales, which also becomes very relevant in the current post-COVID or the COVID recovery period. However, in terms of challenges, there would be need for this basic infrastructure to come into place for the scrappage policy to be properly implemented. And if this infrastructure comes into place, it will also bring in investment, because to create this infrastructure, you would require investments, which can also boost economic growth and have a large societal impact, given that there's a large informal sector which is involved in the ELV management. And I think Mr. Sujit discussed very much in detail about the role of the informal sector. The Honorable Minister has also said that this ecosystem is expected to attract additional investments of around 10,000 rupees crores and create 35,000 job opportunities. And the setting up of registered vehicle scrapping facilities can also present an opportunity to bring in new modern technologies with improved recycling methodologies. And for this, India can learn from some of the other countries on the latest techniques and processes. Public-private partnership models can be explored, and again here, Mr. Sujit was, I'm going back to his presentation because that was very recent, that he referred to the role of the ULBs. And I think here ULBs can play an important role in this operationalization, setting up of these registered vehicle scrapping facilities through public-private partnership. ULB could provide the land, the private sector could bring in the technology. Also, to make the economic case in scrapping old vehicles more strong for the Indian economy, the incentives have to be, in a way, the overall incentives, because part of it is still advisory, I mean, to the auto companies and to the states, that it should make it profitable and attractive for the consumer to go give his end of life at the right place. And the implementation of vehicle scrappage policy certainly will need to be uniform across rural and urban areas to prevent this transfer of polluting vehicles from one area to the other. So there has to be a uniform implementation. And last but not the least, the political economy issues linked to the potential impact on the livelihoods of the informal sector, who are currently the predominant player. What happens to them, and also particularly some of these smaller towns and rural areas have people who are dependent on these older vehicles for their livelihood activities. So if the scrappage policy comes into place, what happens to their livelihood? Does that get impacted? So it's important to minimize the adverse impacts and trade-offs.
Thank you, Dr. You've put forward some great facts, and we thank for that. Coming back to you, Dr. Amar, to facilitate the recycling of non-metallic shredder residue, how can the dismantling industry, repair shops, the shredding industry, and auto work together?
So, once this policy is strictly implemented, ELV, once this policy is strictly implemented, there will be a mandatory. It will be mandatory for all the dismantlers to recover not only the metals but also the non-metallic part. Besides 76% of ferrous and non-ferrous present in the car. For example, there's also plastics 9%, glass 3%, tire 3%, rubber 3%, fluids 2%, electronic parts, processors, polymers, battery, carpets 1% each. With each of this material having great economic value, they would find, including those of reuse and refurbish. The new policy will not only facilitate but also smoothen the supply chain network of recyclables and recycled products, some of which will find their way back to automobile by the way of auto parts based on quality parameters. This could also help the automakers to lower the price of their product, making them more affordable to customers. Therefore, working together could be a win-win strategy for dismantlers, repair shop, shredding industry, and automobile manufacturer, and other stakeholders, including recyclers and government, who will benefit from the new revenue stream from the ELV recycling industry, estimated to be worth of 50 lakh crores in near future.
Thank you, Mr. Amar. So we understood that some scope of improvement in the policy.
Yeah.
So Ms. Shilpi, would you like to share your views on two changes that you would policy?
Yeah, thanks, Susanna. So I wouldn't say that I would like to suggest changes per se, but would like to suggest few additional elements that can certainly be brought into the focus of the policy. First is the need to build in or integrate incentives to move towards electric vehicles. So the scrapping incentive which is being given could be differentiated if the replacement of the old vehicle is happening with an electric vehicle or a ICE vehicle. So I think that is an important point. And I think Delhi government already in its EV policy has that kind of an incentive structure. Then taking the international example of Germany, a study has shown because the IC International Council on Clean Transportation, that actually replacing old cars with newer ones powered with IC was not seen to provide much effective emission gains as that with replacing electric vehicles. So this becomes extremely important in this context. Also, the uptake of the policy should be strengthened through state-level scrappage policies, and the states kind of need to streamline the processes and the aspects of the policy for more improved implementation. And even the focus on electric vehicles should be brought in the state-specific rules. There's need for generating awareness and informing the vehicle buyers about the benefits of the scrapping policy. So, in a lot of incentives which are being proposed, whether mandatory or voluntary, should be the consumer should be made aware of those, and then only can he or she take a decision to move ahead in terms of giving up or taking their older vehicle to end of life stage. Setting up pilot initiatives, including demonstration projects to impart knowledge and training to the existing and potential entrepreneurs and the informal sector engaged in the ELV management will be extremely helpful. Capacity building efforts should certainly be strengthened for all stakeholders, and it will facilitate the market development. Developing innovative models to integrate the informal sector with the formal organized setups should be a crucial focus that will also lead to improved livelihoods for the informal sector and their overall upliftment. In terms of one of the other points which I would like to highlight is that on the EPR, which currently is missing, and I think yesterday's discussion very rightly brought that into the main discussion, that it's important to also bring in the EPR into the scrappage policy. And specifically, if we say refer to the AIS 129 standards, again on the reuse, recycling, material recovery, there too the EPR is missing. So there should be some kind of an alignment between AIS 129, the vehicle scrappage policy, and bring in kind of a responsibility on the manufacturer to also look at and be responsible for the end of life. And given that the auto manufacturers also understand what the car and the auto parts are made up of, how far the recycled material could substitute virgin material, or what technological changes could be brought in to bring about enhanced substitution of virgin with recycled material, I think bringing in or emphasizing on EPR will also foster that kind of effort by the manufacturers. And I would like to reiterate the point that was mentioned by Shalini yesterday, and it also came up in the discussion in the previous session, is that the use of digital technologies and innovative technologies like blockchain to track the scrap from where it is generated to where it is recycled.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Shilpi and Mr. Amar, for the wonderful discussion today. And as you rightly mentioned, it was a policy much waited for by the industry, by the people. And I'm sure that it's a way forward towards improved management of ELV. So thank you again. And I hope this did the audience here. So Hayden, I would like to invite you again.
Thanks very much, Dr. Shilpi and Amar and Susanna for mentioning. Amar, don't go away. I was about to. Someone on chat asked me, what is the situation when it comes to the electric vehicles in India? Over here, we're talking 2030. There's a big push. There's incentives, etc., to buy in America as well. Can you just give us a quick overview on, the attitude to EV vehicles, and is there a push to see more on the roads in India?
So Indian government is trying very hard and trying to promote more and more of electronic vehicles, but the infrastructure which is needed is not there. I'll give you an example of Delhi and Mumbai. If you go out of Mumbai, like 60 kilometers away from Mumbai, and if you're having a EV, electronic vehicle, you will not find charging stations. So this is the biggest, what I understand, this is the biggest challenge which by which government is trying to promote EV, but people are not ready or eager to buy EV because they will not, they don't have perfect infrastructures to charge their vehicle.